This is Dr. Infinity. Welcome to White Pill Media, and have a white pill on me, as always. So, I'm gonna talk about this book I just read, Always with Honor, by Pyotr Wrangle, Peter Wrangle. I really don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. But it's this really good book about the White Russian army during the Russian Civil War between communists and the nationalists, and it's a part of history that I don't really know a ton about, but I was interested in it, and I guess not recently, but there's a new printing of this book because it hasn't really been available too much in the West, or I guess just overall. But so I have an interest in history, and this is stuff that's more interesting to me, more like nationalistic kind of stuff. And then it's just like a time I find kind of compelling about their struggle against communism. So I'm not really gonna go super in depth with the book. I'll probably keep this video to like 5 minutes. But if you are interested in like the time period of the Russian Civil War, and you want like a point of view from the White Army, this is a really great book. Pyotr Wrangle, he was a general in that army, and then he kind of became like the commander-in-chief after some time. But he's a really great guy. He did a lot of great things, and the book really covers their struggle and all that they had to overcome, and then eventually reaching the decision that they were in a unwinnable position and they need to save as many of their people as they can. So it's a great book. There are a few things about the book. One, I'm not super familiar with Russian geography and all of that, so it was somewhat confusing for me because he talks about like the Cossacks or the Cossacks, and I thought that just meant like Russian cavalry. I didn't think it referred to like a specific like Russian ethnic tribe, but it does. And I'm like, I don't know really where this is. I know some like geographical locations in Russia, and all that, but it was a little more difficult for me to follow because there aren't really any maps or explanations about like where this region is, that region, blah, 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 So if you're not really familiar with that, maybe like have a map up when you're reading it. But I found that a little frustrating. It's not terrible, but I didn't really know where we were all the time. So there's that. And you do have to be somewhat familiar with like Russian history up to this period. I don't think you have to be an expert or anything, but when he just name drops certain people, you have to have like kind of a general knowledge of, okay, this is a guy in the White Army or like et cetera, just a familiar knowledge of kind of the communist uprising and all that. There is a movie which I thought was okay, not great, but there are some good scenes in it, called The Admiral, which Pyotr, he talks about that. I think it's Admiral Kolchak. I believe that's his name. And the Admiral movie is about his story and like his involvement with like the White Russian army. He ends up being killed after a while, and then but I thought that was an okay movie, but Pyotr doesn't really mention him. He's more about like his memoirs and what his army's going through. And the book's a really good look at just the White Army's kind of mistakes and just kind of their challenges to overcome, just their armies being really disconnected and failing to organize as like an anti-Bolshevik, where the guy in front of him, the guy that was his boss, was pretty harsh on anyone that wasn't 100% in line with their view of how Russia should be handled. And they drove away a lot of potential allies by doing that. And they were really dead set on conquering Moscow without like fortifying the positions and the territory they had just taken. And they were also like looting as well as like the Red Army was. Not as harsh as the Red Army, but they were not friends to the local populations. So when the Bolsheviks came in, it's like, does it really matter if we're conquered by the Reds or the Whites, you know? But yeah, it's really good. A lot of interesting struggles. But yeah, that's all like really interesting stuff. I will say that there are some more dry sections to the book where it's like not about like battles, or it's not like the most compelling stuff, but like I like history books, and like I kind of just acknowledge that there are going to be like little portions here and there where I'm like not super engaged with it, and that's fine. Yeah, and I think there's definitely more interesting good stuff than the few little dry sections that I think there are there. But probably like the worst shit that happens in the book is just the West and their allies just dangling, help to the white army, where it's like ammunition, food, soldiers, even, just any help whatsoever. They just dangle it in front of them and then they just jerk it away. And that's so fucking frustrating, because you realize by the end of the book that the Allies really didn't give a shit. It was just, we want Russia open for business again for the natural resources there, and we don't really give a shit who's in charge. Even though communism is something that not only affects Russia, but it's going to affect the entire world. And if they had banded together to defeat Bolshevism there and then, the Cold War doesn't fucking happen, right? So many people get saved if that doesn't happen. So that was like pretty frustrating to go through. And yeah, it's really good book, really solid history. I can't really spoil it because it's just, it's like history. It's like, here's a book about, I don't know, the Second Punic War. And it's like, well, I know how that ends, before you even start it. But it's a really good look. Yeah. We don't really get too many points of view from like their side of the war. And yeah, I think it's something that should be covered more. Anyways, I do some book reviews, but for me, mostly it's about like shit posting and like some reviews of like media I enjoy. I might check out other kind of books like this or do more kind of book reviews. I have a few up, but that's going to be it. Dr. Infinity out.